Hey guys, we've got a 2007 Chevy Impala. We've got some disc brake pads that have worn out. All we're going to do with these is replace the pads themselves. The rotors are in good shape, so we'll leave those as is. This is just a quick DIY, do-it-yourself, how to replace the brake pads. Several steps we're going to take here. First, as you can see, we've got the tire off. We've got a jack sitting down there, and I've also blocked the wheels on the opposite side in the back just to make sure the car doesn't roll away. You don't want to do this side because as I was jacking up, this wheel also was coming up, or the frame was coming up. So make sure you block the opposite side rear wheel on that. Okay, as you can see, this rotor is still in good shape. I can reach behind right there and with my finger run up and down like this. I don't feel any kind of grooves, any kind of scoring or anything like that. So these rotors are still good. Not going to mess with those. This is the caliper. What we're going to do is remove two bolts from the back, one right here and one back down here. Those are 14 millimeter on this Chevy Impala. We'll pull those out. The caliper we'll take out, we'll just pull straight out this way, and we'll take it and just lay it down on top of here. We don't want to try to move it anywhere else or just let it dangle or anything like this. This is a brake line. There's brake fluid in here. We don't want to take any chances of kinking this or putting undue stress on it. Once we have the caliper off, the brake pads, which are right in here, will easily slide out, and we'll replace these metal slides right here on both sides, and we'll also put on a brake wear pin which goes on the back brake pad, and as the pad wears down, that pin will get closer and closer to the rotor. Once it starts touching the rotor, it'll start squealing, and that is an indicator to tell you that it's time to replace your brake pads. This car has not gotten to that point yet, but we can tell by looking down in there that the pads have worn very thin, so it's just time to do it. I will go ahead and pull these two bolts out and then show you what we got from there. Once you have those two bolts pulled out, the caliper should slide out fairly easily. If it doesn't, take a screwdriver or something else like it, put it in this hole here, and gently pry against the top surface of the rotor here. You be very careful. You don't want to score it or scratch it or anything like that. The idea is to force the caliper piston back a little bit. That will allow this to slide off. Okay, this is the outside brake pad, this is the inside brake pad. These will just slide off quite easily. That inside brake pad looks like it's still got quite a bit of material on it. I'm kind of surprised. This is the outside brake pad, and it's pretty much worn out. This groove that's cut on in the middle here is an indicator of wear. Once it is flush and you can't see that anymore, you know that the brake pad is completely worn out. A newer pad will have a deep groove like this in it. What we'll also do is replace these spring clips. These hold the pads in place. They don't look like they're terribly worn, but we got new ones with the brake pads we purchased, so we'll go ahead and replace those too. Okay, these are the new brake pads. This one I'm going to put in the back. This is the one I took off of it. Okay, you'll notice here, this is the wear indicator clip. This edge right here is the one I talked about that would rub against the rotor when the pad wears down. Note the position on that, and we'll take this clip that's supplied with the hardware kit and put it on exactly the same way. That will just clip in place like that. Tap it in for good measure. Okay. Take this clip, this spring clip here out. Pick up another one. Get the orientation right. Slide it in place. One underneath on the bottom. Same way. This brake pad will then slide right in there. The outside brake pad slides right in there, and that's all there is to it. Replacing just the brake pads is very easy. Anybody can do it if you know how to handle a socket handle wrench and know how to get the tire off of the vehicle. What we'll have to do next is take a C-clamp, 4-inch in this case, and press the caliper cylinder, the caliper piston, I'm sorry, back down in so that there will be enough room here to fit down over the outside of the brake pads. How we'll do that, I'm going to take one of the old brake pads I took off of there, lay that up there, and that's just to protect the cylinder. Now open up the C-clamp, and then slowly tighten it down to push that piston back in. What this is going to do is push brake fluid back through the lines up into the reservoir. You want to do this slowly, and watch out, there's a rubber seal right here. You want to watch carefully and make sure that's not getting twisted or warped or torn in any way. Okay, that looks like it's about far enough. And the caliper will slide right over the brake pads. I want to push that in, push it in on the bottom, and that's pretty much in place. We'll take each of the bolts, put those back in and hand tighten, and then we'll tighten those down with that 14mm socket. Okay. Now, just an observation, I've done a lot of brake work, and this has easily got to be the cleanest set of brakes I've ever come across. Many times you've got dust all over on the inside of the caliper, on the inside of the rotor, all over the calipers, and I use brake cleaner generously all over that to get all that dust and stuff off. You don't want to use compressed air. It'll blow the dust everywhere. You'll end up breathing it in, and some brake pads do contain asbestos. These are ceramic, but anyway, you still don't want to breathe all that dust, so don't use compressed air to blow all that out. Okay, pretty much done. Now we'll put the tire back on the wheel, and then we'll start the vehicle and pump the brakes a good dozen times just to make sure that we push brake fluid back down, close the calipers so that the brake pads are pushed up against the rotor, and when you take your foot off the brake, the caliper will pull the brake pads just a tiny bit away so that the wheel will spin free. But you want to make sure you pump those brakes just to get the brake fluid in there, and then take it out on the road and do a few stops from 5-10 miles an hour. Make sure everything's working okay. You don't want to find out in a high pressure situation that they're not working quite right. That's pretty much it for just replacing the brake pads. Anybody should be able to do this. You can save yourself a lot of money over taking it to a dealer or most auto repair shops. Total cost on this was about $50 just for the 4 brake pads and the hardware kit. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.